If you're a Muslim man or woman who's noticed that it's harder to lose weight as you get older, and maybe you've tried doing all the conventional stuff like restricting your calories and doing a bunch of cardio, but yet the low calorie diets haven't really worked, and you found yourself kind of just looking all over the place like, what's going on, shaking your head, wondering why it isn't working, because people say you're supposed to be in a calorie deficit, but you are in a calorie deficit, like you're not losing weight. I'm going to teach you exactly how to fix that inside of this video, inshallah. And I've actually put together a slideshow for you to teach you about how to use strength training for fat loss and as well as reverse dieting, which is going to be really, really important for making sure we get your metabolism to where it needs to be in order to lose fat efficiently while being able to eat more and train less, instead of, starving yourself and spending all these hours that you don't have away from your family and away from your work, only trying to get in shape. So I'm going to pop on my glasses and let's dive in. And essentially the formula is very simple. When you strength train and do a reverse diet, that allows you to break through fat loss plateaus, and it allows you to speed up your metabolism and your energy levels to as close as they were as possible to your youth. So again, inside of this video, there's also going to be a free beginner guide for strength training, and I'm going to be sharing some routines at the end, since this is a really common question I get. And actually this whole thing, and by the way, is going to be a technical video, so if you don't like technical videos, well, get ready for it. But essentially, this was all inspired by a couple conversations, right? I had a brother come in, and he's in his 40s and he isn't able to lose weight as easily as when he was younger, and he's never really done strength training other than like 1 to 2 days a week. So this video is for him. Also, another brother reach out and say, hey, when I do these strength training workouts, I'm not working up a sweat. I feel like I need a sweat to get a good workout. So could you give me some guidance? I said, yeah, no problem. I'll give you this newbie guide on strength training and how to boost your metabolism, and I'll record that today, inshallah. And then in addition to that, I always get people asking me how to put together a workout routine. So today I'm be showing you a lot of great stuff, inshallah, that's going to make a huge difference for you in being able to learn how to do this. So again, if you've ever hit a plateau while trying to restrict your calories and doing a ton of cardio, and you've noticed that as you've gotten older, more busy, more stressed, it's harder to lose weight, again, this is for you. So in this video, again, the 3 main points we're going to cover is how to fix and speed up your metabolism, even if it's slower than it used to be in your youth, using both nutrition and training. We're also going to talk about how to strength train properly, including routines, and then we're going to show you how to use the right techniques to get results, okay? And the first thing we want to talk about is the nutrition piece, right? Because if you're eating 1,500, 1,200, or even less calories and you're not losing weight, there's obviously a problem. Either you're mistracking and you're actually eating more than you think you are, which is a common case as well. So make sure you're actually tracking everything, including like the oils, the sauces, everything. And you might actually be eating 2,000 calories a day, which might be why you're not losing weight. But even so, for a lot of people, you should be able to lose weight on 2,000 calories a day if your metabolism is optimized. So again, but if you actually are eating like 1,200 calories, or I even had somebody come in who was only eating 700 calories a day and not losing weight, that's a problem. And going lower than that isn't healthy at all. Like, you should never go below 10 times your body weight in calories per day in most cases. So, and you'll know that your metabolism is slow and that you're not really optimized energetically, metabolically, all that stuff, if you tend to feel tired, lethargic, you have brain fog, your libido's dropped, you've struggled to lose weight, even on low calories and cardio, you don't feel as strong as you used to, you have no energy. For women, there's a lot of menstrual damage that happens. And again, there's a whole host of terrible problems that a lot of people experience when their metabolism is crashed. So instead of going lower in your calories, what I want to teach you how to do today is eat in a more structured and strategic way that allows you to boost your metabolism and not gain fat, but instead you gain muscle. And you don't just gain muscle like, in places that you don't want it, right? You're going to gain it in the right places so you can actually build a body that you like, instead of feeling like you're too bulky, because I know it's a concern for some people, versus some people do want to get bulky. So I can also teach you how to do that, inshallah. And then you'll be able to eat more, which makes it easier to stick to, and it makes it a lot more flexible, and it also allows you to lose fat faster from both diet and exercise in the long run and in the short run. So first off, let's dive into reverse dieting. And the purpose of reverse dieting is to boost your metabolism and minimize fat gain. And a lot of times, especially in the model I'm going to show you today in the slideshow, you can actually lose fat while reverse dieting, okay? So the first thing you need to do, the first step to a proper reverse diet, is you need to figure out your maintenance calories based on how much you're currently consuming, as well as how much progress you're making. So what does that mean? It means if you're eating 700 calories and you're not losing weight, and you're actually eating 700 calories and you're properly tracking it, and it's actually 700 calories, that means your body's only burning 700 calories a day, which is no wonder why you have trouble focusing. It's no wonder why you feel tired, and it's no wonder why you have no energy, because your body's not even using any energy. It's trying to conserve energy, right? So that would be your starting point where we have to start adding to that, right? Now, let's say that you're eating 3,000 calories a day. You're probably not watching this video if that's you, but maybe you find out that when you actually start tracking things properly, you are eating 3,000 calories a day. and you haven't been losing weight, that means that you're maintaining at 3,000. And let's say you weigh 200 pounds, your metabolism's already at 15 times your body weight. So you're in a healthy place to go into a proper deficit. And you're the type of person where intermittent fasting could actually work for you, as long as your stress levels aren't too high, because then it can increase your stress levels and cause more cortisol and all this stuff. And I know a lot of people love intermittent fasting. I'm not a big fan because I tend to run high stress, but I have some clients who are more of that laid back type B personality. And those guys tend to get very good results on it. But most of my clients are very type A, which is why I typically don't use intermittent fasting, because it's not good for type A people. Okay, because you're already running high stress, and it's just going to increase cortisol further. Now, depending how much activity we're adding, typically what I do with a reverse diet is add about 50 to 100 calories per day to your intake every week, sometimes as high as 200, sometimes lower. It really depends on the person. So again, that's why it's kind of tough to give general advice. But this is kind of just a general rule of thumb, is slowly baby step your calories up. And again, there is a lot of nuance. Like for instance, the client who volunteered for me to be able to share his workouts and his data and his pictures today, Brother Waleed, we got him from 1,500 to over 2,200 much faster, and it really took just a couple weeks. But again, it depends on your starting activity levels, your age, your stress, etc. Okay, and then we also want to add in 3 days of resistance training, which could be strength training in the gym. It could be bodyweight resistance training, but I typically prefer gym training, as that's more of my expertise, and it also is a lot more measurable, and it's a lot easier to use progressive overload, which you're going to learn about inshallah inside of the training portion of this video. And then we want to use about 3 to 4 days of 5 to 10 minute walks on your non-training days, which is good for your stress levels. It's good for just increasing your metabolic rate as well, or your total daily energy expenditure. And it's just overall good for your mental health, your physical health, everything. It's good blood flow. It's good for recovery. I mean, there's so many benefits to just walking. So I highly recommend walking. Now, on the flip side, though, if you're doing too much cardio, like my client Waleed, who I'm going to share today, who is pretty much a picture-perfect example of somebody who successfully reversed diet and got incredible results eating more and training less, we want to be able to reduce or eliminate all of the cardio. So Waleed, he likes boxing, so we dropped down his boxing days from 6 days a week to 4 days a week, and that's part of how we got him out of that overtraining syndrome where he was eating 1,500 and his body was holding on to all that fat because his body was like stressed. And I know a lot of people think that starvation mode doesn't exist, and yeah, sometimes people are just mistracking their macros, but if you're truly eating 1,500 and not losing weight and you're truly tracking that, there's a high chance that your metabolism will just crash, and that's why you feel tired all the time, because your body's trying to conserve energy when you're not working out. And even when you're working out, your performance dips because your body's trying to conserve energy, which is essentially what starvation mode is, versus when you have your body's burning a ton of calories, you're just bouncing off the walls with a ton of energy, which is why you see the little kids, they eat sugar and out of nowhere they get super hyper, but then they get the blood sugar crash, obviously. But kids typically have a lot of energy no matter how they eat, because their metabolism is usually pretty fast. But as we get older and more stressed and our metabolism slows down, our muscle mass drops, all that stuff, that's typically where, we start to lose that, right? But anyways, so we want to just keep repeating this process till we get to the goal calorie intake, and that's basically it, okay? All right, now let's dive into the whole, and this is super important that we're doing resistance training while reverse dieting, because otherwise it's very easy for you to gain fat if you try doing a reverse diet. And I'm going to dive into some of the drawbacks of not strength training. So when you don't strength train, more of what you eat goes to fat just in general, but especially if you're reverse dieting. And it's not to say that if you're eating 700 calories a day, we got to get you out of that ASAP, even if you can't go to the gym, even if you have to do very minimal resistance training, but we got to do some strength training. Because obviously when we don't strength train, more of what you eat goes to fat, because there's no demand from your muscles for those calories to go towards muscular recovery and growth. And then if you don't strength train and you don't have muscle, your metabolism gets slow, and you start to lose muscle every single year, which is going to slow that metabolism down further. And as a man, if you're not strength training, then your testosterone levels are going to be low relative to what they could be if you lifted. Now, I just want to add a caveat for the sisters here, which is that for women, it's still important to have healthy testosterone to estrogen balance, and you don't want to have too much estrogen relative to progesterone, or you're going to get a lot of issues as well, such as bloating, such as hormonal weight gain, and a number of other things, which are very nuanced within the female metabolism, because the female metabolism is a little bit more complex than the male metabolism. It's not necessarily rocket science unless you have like a condition like PCOS or Lyme disease or hypothyroidism. In that case, it becomes a little bit more complex, but there's supplementation that we can implement for that to help. But I mean, and that applies to men too if you have those conditions as well. But women's metabolisms tend to have a little bit more nuance than men's. But again, if you strength train, it's going to do nothing but good things for your metabolism as long as you're not overtraining. But if you're watching this, there's a low chance that you're overtraining, unless you're like Waleed, where he was working out 6 days a week, twice a day. Then we have to reduce things a little bit, which I'm going to show you his whole case study, or a part of his case study, so you can see his routines and some of his progress if we have time, inshallah, later in this slideshow as an example of some client routines. But yeah, if you're not strength training, your body isn't able to best utilize nutrients for muscle growth and for energy. And so that causes a lot of issues, which is why it's so important to strength train, and why I'm super adamant about strength training, especially for people who are like trying to lose weight doing cardio, hitting a plateau, struggling with sustainability. Strength training is so much more easy, fun, sustainable, and effective. It's just way more time efficient, which is why I typically use this with my clients, because most of my clients have at least a full-time job or they're running a business, and many of them work 60, 80. I even have 2 clients who work up to 100 hours a week. One of them is Muslim and one of them is non-Muslim, and both of them have, you know, a partner, kids, all that stuff, where, you know, they're dealing with a lot of stuff. Okay, or actually, sorry, one of them, he's divorced. So, I mean, he does have a partner, the non-Muslim one, but he has 4 kids as a single dad and trying to manage a relationship. And then the Muslim one, you know, obviously he's only got 1 kid, but, you know, he has his partner as well. And so, you know, who he had his kid with, his wife. So essentially, you know, it's no excuse if you have kids. It's no excuse if you're busy. It's no excuse if you work a lot. There are men just like you who are taking action right now without making excuses. There are women too. I've had female clients who work up to 80 hours a week. I haven't had a female client who works 100 hours a week, but all I'm saying is that excuse really triggers me, because you are doing yourself a disservice. You are doing your family a disservice by using them as an excuse, and then you end up being fat and being a bad role model and not having energy and not being present with your wife or your kids or your husband or whoever it is, and you're treating your loved ones poorly by not being your best self. And then you say family comes first, I don't have time. No, family comes first. You're going to make time for yourself to be your best so you can pour into them, because you can't pour into other people from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup first. You got to put your oxygen mask on first before you put it on your kids, because if you pass out while you're trying to put the oxygen mask on your kids, if the plane crashes, then obviously, you know, you can't save anybody, right? That's like the cheesy self-help example of take care of yourself first, but it's so important, so stop making that excuse. Slapping people is haram, but metaphorically speaking, I'm gonna slap you if you make that excuse, okay? Anyways, sorry, I'm just being facetious, but you get the idea, okay? Stop making that excuse. It's an absolute disgrace, all right? Now, again, but yeah, if you don't strength train, your body's not gonna use the right nutrients for energy and muscle growth, and then more calories get stored as fat, especially if you try to reverse diet. Okay. Went on a little tangent there. I just get very passionate about making sure that people who are parents step up for their families, okay? Now, when you don't strength train, your body's going to also produce less testosterone and, you know, less progesterone, which I refer to as good estrogen. I mean, that's pretty inaccurate, but that's what it says on the slideshow, good estrogen, because it makes it simple for people to understand. And more cortisol and more, you know, estrogen, and there's a number of different estrogens, estradiol, a lot of stuff. But your estrogen to progesterone balance becomes messed up, which causes hormonal weight gain for women. And then obviously for men, when you have high estrogen, it causes moodiness, hormonal weight gain as well. You know, a lot of really, really bad things that we as men don't want to get, you know, erectile dysfunction with your wife, you know, just, you know, libido issues, infertility, you know, and so there's just so many bad things that happen when you have high estrogen, but mostly you just get tired and moody, and, you know, you don't have energy or drive, you don't feel masculine, and your body starts getting soft. So we definitely want to control estrogen. There's some nutritious stuff you can do in that goes beyond the scope of this video. I've already gone on too many tangents, but let's tighten it up. So again, if you don't strength train, your body's going to lose muscle year over year, and muscle is a metabolically expensive tissue, meaning that muscle burns calories while at rest. And especially if you've done restrictive diets and cardio in the past without strength training, that also burns more muscle, because you might be losing weight, but how much of that weight is muscle? If you strength train, you maintain more muscle when you're cutting, and you can actually gain muscle while you're cutting. But if you don't strength train and you're getting older and you do cardio and you do restrictive diets, then there's a very high chance that you've lost muscle over the years, which is going to cause a lot of issues for you, specifically with your metabolism. And then that's why you're struggling to lose weight and why you gain it back so easily whenever you stop dieting, which it's hard to stick with these low-calorie diets and tons of cardio. And I mean, that's a death sentence, or that's a life sentence to have to do like cardio and low-calorie diet for the rest of my life. This is a lifestyle, not a life sentence, and that's what strength training gives you the opportunity to do, is it allows you to just really enjoy this stuff, okay? But anyway, so yeah, when you have less muscle, you burn less calories at rest, and then you have less testosterone, you have more estrogen, you have more cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And then as we get older, we add more years, we add more stress. Cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down, muscle goes down further, metabolism slows down, just a downward spiral. Makes it hard to lose weight, especially if you're doing cardio and low calories. It just keeps crashing your metabolism worse and worse. So let's make sure that we strength train. And again, with strength training, you know, for the average person who just wants to lose weight and be healthy and have longevity for years to come and have good bone mineral density past the age of 50 when you get older, inshallah, because most people who are watching this are probably not in their 50s, but you might be in your 40s, like the brother who I, you know, mostly was attending this video for. You might be 28, like the other brother I was attending this for. You might be in your 20s or 30s, like many of the other brothers and sisters who reached out with questions about routines, which we're going to dive into in a second. And yeah, but it only takes 30 to 45 minutes a week, 3 to 4 times a week. And if you like have competitive bodybuilding, athletic, powerlifting goals, of course you have to train more than that. But if you're just a busy professional, you're working a full-time job, you have kids, maybe you want to have kids one day, you don't have time to be in the gym 3 hours a day, that's fine. Go to the gym 30 to 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, and stop making excuses. That's like less than 1% of your week. Like if you actually do the math, you have 168 hours in a week, that's like 2 to 3 hours. So that's literally 1 to 1.5% of your week, and you're telling me you don't have time. It's not that you don't have time, it's that you're not focused, you're not energetic, you're not clear and certain on what you need to do, and you're not prioritizing yourself, and you're being lazy. But if you do the math, you do have time. Okay, even if you work 100 hours, it gives you 68 hours. If you sleep 7 hours a night and you work 100 hours, that's still like that's still 12 hours that you can spend with your family, that you can spend on yourself, 2-3 hours on yourself. You still have 9 hours to spend with your family and all that stuff. So, and again, that's an extreme example. Most of you only work 40, 60, maybe 80 hours a week. So you have plenty of time. Okay, let's do the math. You can tell I've had a lot of conversations with people who think that they don't have time, and we successfully get most of those people past their excuse, but a lot of people are more committed to their excuses than they are to results, and we can't help people like that because they need to be committed to their results, and they need to want these results for themselves at least as badly as we want it for them, okay? Because if I want you to get results more than you want to get results, it's not going to work. You got to want this for yourself, truly, okay? So anyways, but yeah, 90% of people who want to lose weight and just have a healthy metabolism for years to come, you need a minimalistic, time-efficient routine. So again, when you strength train, more of what you eat goes to muscle, less goes to fat, which means that and this is called nutrient partitioning. Nutrient partitioning improves. And if you're a newbie or you haven't worked out properly or consistently in a long time or ever, you're going to see intrinsic fat loss as a byproduct of your enhanced nutrient partitioning, which is absolutely amazing because you're lifting weights, you're getting stronger, you're eating more, and your waistline is shrinking, and your body weight isn't even changing that much yet. And it might change a bit, as you'll see in Waleed's case study, but again, it's so much better, okay? Nutrient partitioning improves, which is why you initially lose fat on the same amount of calories or even as we increase calories. Your body produces more testosterone, which helps improve estrogen balance and lower cortisol for both men and women. And especially if you take vitamin C, 2,000 milligrams after your training, that's a little pro tip for you guys. Makes a huge difference and lowers cortisol, which further increases testosterone, which is why I keep vitamin C in my car so I can take it as soon as I finish the gym. Even when I do martial arts, I don't know if martial arts increases cortisol as much as like lifting heavy weights, but whenever I do martial arts, I take, vitamin C after as well to lower my cortisol and optimize my recovery, my testosterone levels, my health. Then when you strength train, your body gains muscle year over year instead of losing it, and therefore your metabolism speeds up because you have more muscle on your frame, and that allows you to burn more calories every single day, even at rest, even when you're chilling with your family, even when you're sleeping, even when you're working, your body's burning more calories because you have more muscle. So it's important to build those muscles, guys, okay? And then you have more dietary flexibility because your metabolism and your nutrient partitioning are optimized like a high-performance machine, okay? So what are the steps to get into strength training? Because if you're watching this right now, there's a high chance that you're like, okay, Munir, I listened to you for a long time now. Now tell me, how do I do the strength training? Okay, and I'll probably put like a clip from this in the beginning just because start off a little slow there. But basically, there are 5 steps to strength training, okay? The first thing is you need to fix your posture and your technique to make sure that you're not going to get injured, all right? So that's like really important. I'm going to dive into that in a second in the screen share over here. Now, step number 2 is we got to optimize and develop your mind to muscle connection so that you're getting efficient results at your training. Because if you're just swinging around weights without, mind muscle connection, you're just damaging your joints and injuring yourself. You're not actually building muscle or increasing the metabolic demands of your body for recovery and for muscle maintenance and muscle growth, okay? Which is the whole point of doing this for fat loss. And obviously, if you want to gain muscle, you also got to have mind muscle connection so you gain muscle. But whether you want to gain muscle, lose fat, or both, this is extremely important. Number 3 is you need a proper routine that allows you to make progress and also sustainably fits in your schedule. So that's why, for my typical client, because I have very few clients that are like professional athletes, okay? That's not who I specialize in, because there's plenty of people who specialize in that. I specialize in helping the busy Muslim professional or entrepreneur who works a lot, has a family, or even if you don't have a family, you just work a ton and you don't have time to be in the gym all the time because you're trying to build your future, you're trying to build your life, you're trying to take care of your kids, you're trying to provide for your family, you're trying to build legacy and generational wealth. And I totally understand, which is because, because I'm in the same boat, I'm trying to build here, so I don't have time to train the way I did when I was 22, and neither do you. Okay, now step 4 is you got to track your numbers so that you can actually have fun watching the numbers go up and the results your body produces, and so you can push your limits and wire some intrinsic motivation with the process, which then allows you to obviously be more consistent as well. And then just understand that when your numbers go up as far as strength, provided that technique and mind muscle connection and control are consistent, when numbers go up, metabolic capacity goes up because stronger muscles equals more muscle fibers, which means it burns more calories at rest. Now, if you're watching this right now, you're like, well, I don't want to get bigger. I just want to be lean. Okay, great. Well, let's just never put you in a calorie surplus. Let's just keep you in a deficit after the reverse diet phase so that we can make sure that you're not going to get bulky. But if you're watching this right now, maybe you're a skinny guy or a skinny fat guy who wants to gain muscle, just like me when I first started, because I was a skinny fat guy. I had a belly and skinny arms, which is terrible, right? I had to build more muscle fibers, which helped me have the metabolic capacity to actually get a 6-pack. for the first time in my life after I've been lifting for a couple of years, which again, because I made a lot of mistakes, it didn't have to take me years. If I had a coach or a trainer, I would have figured it out a lot faster. But again, more muscle fibers allows you to burn more calories at rest, which increases your metabolic capacity. And that's why if you've ever tried bulking, and I know not everybody's going to relate with the bulking thing, but for those of the brothers who have tried bulking up, you notice that you hit a plateau eventually and you can't gain more weight unless you eat more, because your metabolism gets so fast because you're building muscle, your body's getting used to consuming all those calories, your energy levels are through the roof, except for after a giant meal though, because then you get the blood sugar crash. But again, now if you've never tried bulking, which I think is a lot of people, especially those who need to lose weight, again, you can leverage this to allow you to eat more while losing weight, okay? And then step 5, you got to make sure you're getting enough protein, enough calories, and enough sleep so that you're recovering and so you can maintain that muscle, because that muscle is a rental property that pays you every single day, no matter whether you're working or not, aka it burns calories every single day, whether you're lifting or not, as long as you lift enough to maintain it. So likewise, just like how you have to maintain a rental property so that your tenant keeps paying you, or your Airbnb guest keeps paying you if you're in the Airbnb business, like a lot of Muslim clients we work with, mashallah, then again, as long as you're maintaining it, it'll keep burning, it'll keep paying you, versus cardio is a full-time job. You got to go clock in, you only get paid by the hour instead of actually building passive income. So that's kind of what metabolism does, and what muscle does is kind of like passive income for your calorie burn, for your calorie budget, which allows you to have a bigger calorie budget, which allows you to eat more. Just like how when you have more rental properties, you have a bigger budget for your finances, which means you can take your family on more nice vacations. You can buy more nice things for yourself and for your family as well, more gifts for your children, for your cousins, and for your nephews and nieces, right? Anyways, so let's dive into the posture stuff, because obviously that's the first step of becoming an efficient strength trainer, an efficient lifter. So I'm going to exit from the slideshow here, and you can see all my little tabs here, keeping it low key on the tabs today. So I've put together this little posture playbook, and if you want to grab the playbook, just comment below on this video in the comment section and write posture playbook, and either myself or my team will send it to you, inshallah. It's a free PDF that we put together. It's absolutely amazing. It also has all my social links, so be sure to follow me on all my social medias here, and join our free Facebook group where we have more of this stuff. Unless you're watching this in the Facebook group, then obviously then just comment posture playbook and you'll grab this. So essentially this dives into the 4-part framework, and again, the 4-part framework is step 1, we need to open up the knots through myofascial release that allows us to then get the muscles in proper alignment. Because if the muscles have knots and we try to stretch them, the knot is still there. Does that make sense? So obviously we got to be able to open those knots so that the muscle can properly stretch and return to proper alignment. So that's the first step. The second step is to now take that muscle where the knots have been released, and now we can stretch that muscle into alignment. The third step, oops, my little alarm went off here. Sorry about that. My Doher alarm went off. Hopefully we're all good. But anyway, so we got to stretch the muscle into proper alignment, and then we got to activate to maintain that proper positioning. Super important. That's the third step. And then the fourth step is to integrate this new activation and alignment of the body into compound and dynamic movement, meaning everyday movements, meaning compound movements like squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, all the essentials of strength training, pull-ups, right? Super important that we now take this proper positioning of the muscles and joints into compound and dynamic movement. Because if you're watching this right now, there's a high chance that if you work in front of a desk, you tend to spend a lot of your day like this, shoulders up and forward. But when we lift properly and safely, we need to have shoulders back and down, okay? So obviously there's some stretching that needs to happen before we're able to achieve that position properly. And that's what we cover inside of the posture playbook here. So again, if you want this, just comment down below with the words posture playbook, and my team will send it to you, inshallah, or I will send it to you. And basically, I have, for all the common posture things, so for instance, the forward head posture. If you have forward head posture because you sit in front of a computer, you spend a lot of time on your phone, I get it, because I'm in that same boat too ever since I started an online business. So I'm totally in the same thing. Upper cross syndrome is pretty much very related to that, where your shoulders and chest are very tight from being in front of the computer. Lower cross syndrome happens when we sit a lot. So again, as you can see, for each of these specific posture distortions, which most of us have all of the above, there's a 4-step process that I have inside of the guide, including videos on how to do each of these exercises specifically to actually fix this stuff. So anyways, that is basically it. And there are also some routine templates here inside of the posture playbook. And I'm actually going to go into some real client routines inside of this video as well. So again, if you want the posture playbook, comment down below with the words posture playbook, and my team will send it to you, inshallah. So let's dive back into the slideshow, and here we go. All right, so how do you build mind-muscle connection? Now, there's a couple things you can do. Obviously, you need to have the right form, so it's important that you either work out with somebody who knows what they're doing so they can give you a technique review, or as you have a coach or a trainer. That could be me, or it could be a trainer at your gym. It could be another coach. If there's another coach you know who you like better than me, doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, work with a coach or go to the gym with a friend who has a good physique, who's never been injured, who knows how to, or who's been injured and learn how to fix it. But somebody who knows what they're doing, not just like your average gym bro who doesn't have results, who thinks they know what they're doing, but they don't, who's injured all the time, whose shoulder always hurts. That's not somebody you want to learn technique from, because then you're going to have the same problems. You want to learn from somebody who's either had injuries and fixed them, aka me, or you want to learn from a professional, but not just any trainer, because if you go to like, a trainer who doesn't have results and who doesn't produce client, or even a trainer who has results for themselves but doesn't produce client results, how are they going to get results for you? You always have to talk to somebody who has client results, okay? So go to work out with somebody who's knowledgeable, or, at the end of this video, there will also be an opportunity to speak to me and book a consultation, so we can also do that. A couple examples of activator sets. I'll just give a really simple example. So like, let's say that when you're doing chest, you always feel your shoulders, okay? This is one of the most common posture distortions that a lot of guys have. Or if you're a girl and you're trying to train your butt, but you always feel your lower back or your knees. I'll just use the guys example because I don't really feel like standing up and, showing you guys my butt and stuff like that, astaghfirullah. But essentially for chest, basically what you want to do is first we got to open up, because if you're like here because you're in front of the computer and you don't know how to get out of this position, you got to be able to do the posture playbook so you can get your shoulders back and down. Because if you're here, inevitably, because what happens is when you're here, this bone, the humerus, gets jammed up into your acromion, the socket, and then when you're trying to bench press, you're just grinding up the tissue there, which is why a lot of meatheads who've been lifting since their 20s but don't have good form are always in their 40s. They're like, oh, I used to lift, but now I have shoulder problems, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't want to be like these meatheads. You want to train efficiently and intelligently. So you got to be able to get the right joint positioning. So once you've gotten the right joint positioning, let's say you still can't activate your chest because maybe your chest is small or weak, or maybe you just aren't naturally athletic, because I'm not naturally athletic. I have to learn how to be athletic. I have to train myself and teach myself how to be athletic. So if that's you, you got to learn how to squeeze the muscle properly. So one of the easiest ways to learn that, and actually I learned this from my grandfather like when I was 10, was activate your chest with flies, okay? Now my grandfather, may Allah bless him, he taught me this little exercise right here that activates your chest that I used to do when I was a kid before I do push-ups, and actually helped me. I made chest gains when I was a kid. But if you're in the gym, you could do that, or you could do, chest flies on the machine, the pec deck machine, or on the cable machine, and that's going to activate your chest. So you can do that to get that burn in your chest before you bench, after you've done the posture warm-ups, which I do every single time I lift to prevent injuries. And that's going to allow you to activate your chest properly when you're bench pressing, because now you have the burn and activation there, which allows you to activate more easily. And you've also fixed your posture so you get in the right position. So, and then the second thing, once you've learned the activation, you have to be able to go slow and light when you do strength movements. Let me pop back in the slideshow. You have to be able to go slow and light when you're doing strength movements so you can learn the form and translate that to mind-muscle connection. Like, I have clients all the time when they first start, they're like trying to impress me, so they go too heavy. And this isn't everybody, but it's some individuals. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. And we correct that pretty quick, where they're like bouncing the weights around, throwing it around because maybe they're trying to like lift heavy to impress me or whatever. And it's like, no, you don't need to impress me. I've seen it all. I judge nobody. And even if you're not strong today, in 6 months you'll be super strong, and even 3 months you'll be super strong, inshallah. So go slow and light when you're doing strength movements so you can master the form. And that's the biggest thing, is if you can feel the muscle contracting even with light weights, then imagine how much more you're going to feel it when you're lifting heavy weights. But if you don't feel anything when you're using light weights, you're like, oh, I need to add more weight. I need to add more weight, which is what clients in the gym used to tell me all the time. I'd say, no. We need to master the form with lightweight, because if you can't even activate the muscle with lightweight, you're going to have the wrong muscles take over when you use heavyweight. So whenever I lift, even when I used to deadlift like 600 plus pounds when I was competing in powerlifting, I'd still warm up with the empty bar to get the form right before I did anything heavy. This morning I did heavy squats, and guess what? I spent a good amount of time stretching and doing all those 4 steps too. Then I did a warm-up set with the bar, empty bar. I think I did like 1 or 2 sets of that. I did like 2 sets with a single plate on each side. Then I did a set with 2 plates. Then I did a set with 3 plates. Then I did a set with 3 plates and a 25 each side. Then I did my set with 4 plates, which was my top set. And I always warm up because it's so important that you obviously master the form within each session and just overall, so you have the right mind-muscle connection, so you're getting efficient results, so you're not injuring yourself. So let's dive into Trainerize itself. And again, in the screen share here, my client Waleed is kind enough to let us use and share his program. Now, cool thing is, for him, before we started working together, he actually had like a significant belly, okay? He had this big belly, and you can see it right here, and stuff for love, let's cover his aura. But basically, what we want to do is and when he had that belly, he was working out twice a day, 6 times a week. He was doing the whole 75 hard thing, which I think is actually 7 days a week, but I think he told me he was doing 6, so he was taking 1 rest day. and he's running a business with 200 plus employees. Okay, and you can Google him up, Waleed Halti. Literally Google him, and you'll see who this guy is. This is the type of guys we work with. We work with elite clients, and we work with normal people who just want to get fit. But when you join the program, if you ever decide to work with us in the future, you're going to be surrounded by really high quality guys. Literally Google him if you don't believe me, Waleed Halti. And obviously you see his pictures with his shirt off inside of my app here, so obviously he's my client, right? And even within a short time, he already started to drop the belly and start to get a little bit of ab definition, even within the first couple of weeks of fixing up his nutrition. And that's a solid 6 pounds of fat loss within a very short time frame, just within coming in, right? But anyways, I'm not necessarily going to show his results because I talk about that in my other webinar, which if you want to check out my other webinar on our process specifically and how we deliver the metabolism boost, then I can send you that as well at the end of this video. But basically, what the routine looks like is very simple stuff. So we always foam roll. We always do the corrective exercises. These are super important, and you'll find these exercises within the Posture Playbook if you commented, and you're going to grab a copy of that, inshallah. Now, after we've done the right exercises, again, week 1, I'm having these guys go super light. Like this dude, 35 pounds, super light goblet squats just to master form and going slow so he still gets a burn, he still gets an efficient reverse diet without having to go super heavy or risk injury. Same thing, super light on support squats, super light on lunges, side step ups, and leg finisher, right? And I think I told him to not do the leg finisher because he was an overtrainer, and I didn't want him overtrain. And even though the workout was super easy, as far as like rate of perceived exertion, which I have every client rate at the end of a workout, he still was able to start getting results, right? And then day 2, super simple. So again, foam roll, specific corrective exercises for upper body. Then we did bench press, secondary bench press variation, dumbbell incline bench, and we always superset rear delts with every chest exercise to keep balance in the posture because we don't want to get a big pump here where our shoulders are forward. We want to keep our shoulders back and down. And then just some basic bodybuilding stuff, chest flies, rear delt flies, and the finisher is just some bodyweight exercise here. So super simple stuff, nothing crazy. And again, the templates are in the Posture Playbook, so grab that if you haven't already, comment down below. And then on deadlifts, we actually just start him off with some light stiff leg deadlifts just to build his hamstring control. We did some assisted, or actually, yeah, I think he was doing assisted pull-ups because I had him doing 8 reps and he wasn't able to do that yet. But then we eventually got him doing weighted pull-ups, mashallah, which is great. Dumbbell rows, lat pull downs, cable rows, dumbbell pullovers, all that stuff. And I will share a women's routine inside of this video as well, inshallah. But I want to go into the men's stuff first, just because I had more men ask me about routine specifically, but I also had a lot of women ask. So I'm going to go into a women's template, and I have a women's template, I believe, in the Posture Playbook too. I'm a little bit more modest when it comes to sharing my female clients stuff, just because Islamic boundaries, and I'm trying to be a good Muslim here and lower my gaze. So I'm not going to be showing any like female client stuff here, and I didn't even ask any female clients if they'd be comfortable with me sharing their stuff because I just feel out of politeness I don't even want to ask per se. But with the male clients, I have no shyness in asking, so I'm just like, hey, let me share your stuff, and he's like, cool, no problem. Anyway, so overhead press. So for shoulders, again, we want to do the foam roll corrective exercises, and we want to do rear delts. And I always emphasize rear delts. Most people start their shoulder day with overhead press, and then their front delts, the muscle in the front of their shoulder, is super pumped for the rest of the workout to where they can't activate their side delts or their rear delts, which are super important for developing 3D shoulders and for having healthy shoulder posture as opposed to being rounded forward and having lopsided posture. So we always emphasize rear delts heavily, and all my clients joke that my favorite exercise is rear delt rows because it is, and I do these obsessively. They're one of the most important exercises there is. Then we do overhead press after doing rear delts and side delts. Or actually, for this particular workout, I had him just do rear delts before overhead press. Then more rear delts to get the pump back in his rear delts so that his front delts weren't so pumped from the overhead press. Then shoulder saver side raises, tricep push downs, barbell curls, tricep killers, cable curls, tricep rope kickbacks, and then cable curls or TRX curls, right? Very simple routine. Mashallah, as you can see from his numbers here, there were a handful of fluctuations, but even within like his all-time, actually within the first 2.5 weeks, his all-time low versus all-time high was 9 pounds in 2.5 weeks, which is amazing, on the screen share here, which you guys will be able to see inside of this video. So then obviously there's a fluctuation. He gained a little bit of water weight back. I think I gave him a cheat meal here. Then he kind of retained that water. And again, really awesome stuff. Now I also want to just showcase a template of what a 3-day routine would look like. And what I do is I take these templates and I just customize it to the unique needs of the individual. So if you're doing a 3-day routine, because maybe you don't have time to do 4 days, and I get it, sometimes I have to do a 3-day routine too because I'm very busy with business. Alhamdulillah, even though I've been very busy lately, I've still been able to make it to the gym 4 times a week. But sometimes there's been periods where I can only make it 3 times to the gym, and that's totally fine. You can still get results training 3 times a week if you're training efficiently, effectively, and properly. So essentially what this routine looks like is we want to do whole body if we're doing 3 times a week. So I still have people do the iso positions warm up. Okay, and for most people, I add in foam roll on top of this. Again, this is just a template, so I didn't have the foam rolling here, although I should probably have the foam rolling template because I end up adding it in for most people, so I make my life more efficient when I'm customizing these routines. But that's something we're working on, is becoming more efficient, as always. Just like how I teach you guys to be more efficient, I was working on that myself. So then we do squat variation, shoulder press variation, pull-up variation, and then walk-in lunges. Okay, and what you'll notice when you watch this iso positions video, if you decide to download the Posture Playbook or receive a copy of it from us, essentially what we do is we do activate the rear delts to where there's no need to necessarily do rear delt rows before doing these overhead presses. Okay, now we do them after rear delt rows followed by shoulder shaper side raises, superset, and then pullovers, right? And you'll see like that's workout 1, but by the time that the routine has evolved over a couple weeks, you'll see we do a little bit more. We're doing a couple different supersets, we're throwing in more exercises, and we're adding a little bit of arms, Zottman curls at the end. Because we're just progressing the routine up as the body gets used to more volume and is able to do that more efficiently and effectively within a 30 to 45 minute time slot, whatever you have inside of your schedule. Again, it's all custom to you. Now, same thing, day 2. So again, this is a men's routine. You'll notice when I show you the female template, I emphasize more glutes and lower body training because most guys want to have a big upper body. They don't care that much about legs. Most girls want to have a nice butt, but they don't want to have a whole lot of like upper body mass. But again, I've had women who came in, they're like, hey, I want big shoulders. No problem. I'll put in more shoulders for you than what most female clients would have. And I've also had guys come in and say, hey, I want to have big legs. I'm tired of having chicken legs. No problem. We'll add in more legs, right? Like I actually just had, a brother from Ethiopia who came in and, one of his issues was that he had kind of small legs. So we want to add in more calves, more hamstrings, more quads. He already had big glutes, so he didn't really need more glutes, but we just added more of that in because, again, everything, it depends on the proportions that you want to build, right? And everybody has a different goals, right? By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, we have a couple people on TikTok. I'm live streaming this just to get them to watch the YouTube video. So basically, I will answer those questions at the end. Just see a lot of people asking questions. So I just want to make sure that you know that I'm seeing your questions. I'm going to answer them, inshallah. But anyways, so, and then the last day of the week is upper bodybuilding day, right? And if you're watching this on TikTok, by the way, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and join my free Facebook group where I'm going to be posting this video and you can ask me personal questions and get the Posture Playbook. Now, and you'll see the screen share with all that stuff, okay? But anyways, then the last workout is workout number 3. So it's kind of more of an upper bodybuilding day. Or actually, yeah, because in the 3-day routine, what I do is I have deadlifts as kind of like your secondary lower body exercise in the beginning on Wednesdays, just when you're like learning the form. But then as we start to become more advanced, we have to put more space between squats and deadlifts to allow for optimal recovery, which is why I put it more towards the end of the week as we progress this routine. And by the way, if you want to pause this video and screenshot these routines and try them for yourself, feel free. Because obviously I'm sharing all this stuff and, Waleed volunteered to let me share his, and then I'm voluntarily sharing this routine template of mine, of one of the many routine templates that I use with my clients. Depending on the unique needs and the typical body types that we get, we created templates so it's a lot easier to customize a routine for a client where I don't have to create it from scratch. I just have to customize the template. Now, so again, this is what this typically looks like. So upper bodybuilding day shifts from workout 3 to workout 2. And again, I'm kind of trying to go through this fast because I realize we're kind of a little over time. But essentially, like, what I want you to do is pause that, try these out, send me a message if you need more help or have more questions, or you want me to help you create a routine, totally fine. Or if you're interested in the program, whatever else you want to do. But these are kind of what the routines look like as we screen share here. All right. So and I just wanted to say again, Jazakallah khair to brother Waleed Halti. Here's how you spell it. If you want to search him up here in the screen share, and for letting us share his routine and pictures. And I have his testimonial and case study on my website as well as in the other webinar, which I'll give you a little more info on in a second. Now, here's what a women's routine looks like. So again, it's very similar to men's routine, but we emphasize more lower body than upper body. So day 1 is still very similar. We have a squat variation after all the warm-ups, of course, from the Posture Playbook. Horizontal push, horizontal pull. Day 2 is hip thrust / glute building day. So we use hip thrust as the main strength movement, and then we use different glute variations to then work upon those glutes that have now been strength trained. We now want to do some bodybuilding training on top of the strength training, but strength training always comes first. So the priorities, first priority is always like mobility and form. Second priority is strength. Third priority is bodybuilding. Fourth priority is cardio. So cardio is the lowest priority when it comes to routines, and most clients don't even have them do cardio until maybe month 2 and 3. We do a little bit of cardio, but usually just walking, which is good for your mental health anyway. So we use it as a multi-purpose to spend family time. You can take your family on a walk, take your kids to the park, or go on a walk with your wife or your husband. Keep your whole family healthy, make it family time, or you can use it as personal time if you're an introvert and you need a little more personal time like myself, to just keep your mind clear if you get kind of drained being around people too much. But anyways, not that I'm not a people person. I love being around people, but when it becomes too much, I need some time to myself, which is why the walks are great for my mental health too. I'm kind of like between introvert and extrovert. But anyway, so a woman's routine. So same thing day 1, day 3, we do whole body again. So deadlift and a hip hinge movement, vertical push, vertical pull. And that's one thing I also want to dive into as well, that I just want to explain real quick, is that the foundation of every routine is very simple. There's kind of 9 essential exercises or 9 essential movements. There's squat type motion. There's horizontal, or I'll just talk about the leg ones. For legs, we have a squat type motion, a hip hinge or deadlift type motion, which good mornings are also another exercise that works a hip hinge, but I like deadlifts better because it's better for bodybuilding. There's a one-legged leg variation. You could also add in lateral leg variations. You could also add in calf variations. You could also add in hamstring isolation variations. You could also add quad extension variations, but typically I'm pretty minimalistic with my leg training, and I just do the 3, which are a squat type motion, a deadlift type motion, a one-legged type motion, okay? And then I also like doing the lateral step-ups because they're good for your knee health, but even if I do those too much, my legs tend to get too big. And again, that's just me. I just have really good leg genetics, but my upper body genetics aren't as good, so that's why I kind of emphasize more upper body myself, and a lot of guys are kind of the same boat where they prefer upper body anyways. So that's for lower. Now, so those are kind of the 3 essential movements, and then obviously the miscellaneous movements. Now, when it comes to upper body, there's horizontal push, vertical push, 45-degree push. Okay, so examples of that would be flat bench press, overhead press, and incline bench press. And then you could also, miscellaneous would be like a dip type motion, so more like a downwards or decline push, but that's not really something I include a whole lot of client routines unless they specifically request it, especially because dips can do a number on a lot of people's shoulders, including mine. I don't really do dips anymore. But then from there, then you have the pull equivalent, right? So we have horizontal pull, vertical pull, 45-degree pull are the 3 essentials. But then you could also have like an upwards pull, like to work traps. I don't do upwards pull because I already get plenty of traps from deadlifts, and because I have naturally narrow shoulders, because I was kind of more of a skinny guy before I got big, my traps go really easily, but it's more my side delts I want to emphasize to get better bodybuilding proportions. But again, that's just my goal with bodybuilding. That's the physique that I think looks good. If you like the kind of slopey traps look, which I don't think anybody really does, but if you do, not to alienate you, I'm just saying I have never met somebody who likes that look. But if you like that look, or you naturally have very broad shoulders to where your shoulders are already wide, but you want to have more traps, then obviously we can do that. And let's say that you just want to have a slender build and you don't care about any of that muscle mass stuff, then we'll just focus on muscle density and get you nice and lean, looking like a swimmer, or Brad Pitt from Fight Club, or Cristiano Ronaldo, or whatever physique you want. We can customize a routine for your exact goals. But anyway, so that's typically what a woman's routine looks like, unless a woman specifically wants more upper body. Now, the last thing I want to tie into, which kind of goes beyond the scope of this video, because I have other videos on nutrition on my channel, so check those out. But essentially for recovery, we want to make sure that we're getting a gram per pound of body weight and protein a day. I usually don't go above 150 grams for women. Like I had a female client who started at 262 pounds. Now she's down to below 240, alhamdulillah, after 90 days, which is great. Even though her metabolism was super slow, she was on 1,300 calories a day with her other trainer, not losing weight. And that's when I took over, and she left the other trainer and came and hired me instead, and we got a really good results. And she's eating 1,900 now, which is amazing, alhamdulillah. But we didn't go above 150 grams of protein for her, especially because she had a lot of digestive issues, sensitive stomach, nor did we even need to, right? Because for her, even though she's 260, her lean mass is no more than this, right? Very few women have more than 150 pounds of lean mass, unless you're a woman over 6 foot. If you're an Amazon woman, you might need a little bit more protein, or if you're like a competitive athlete, but typically we don't need a whole lot more than that. And then for men, typically 200 grams is the cap, right? Even if you're like, I have a male client who started at 360, he's down to 330, mashallah. Or I had another client start at 297, lost 29 pounds in 6 weeks, brother Abdurrahman. You can check out his testimonial on my YouTube, and I'll probably upload it to this as well. Can't upload it to TikTok, unfortunately, but I'll probably upload it to the Facebook group or whatever. But anyway, so we cap the protein at 200 for them. The only case where you need more protein than that is if you're a competitive athlete. Like when I was competing in bodybuilding, I was eating 300 plus grams of protein a day because I needed that for recovery personally. My friend Max, he was competing in bodybuilding, he needed 300 plus. I have another non-Muslim friend named Dylan whose body is extremely efficient at using protein, so he never needed more than 190 grams of protein a day. There's also a very famous fitness influencer named Greg O'Gallagher. He weighs 170 pounds, but he only needs like 150 because, again, his genetics are really good for processing protein versus, some guys need a little more. And there's a calibration process to figure that out. Again, it goes beyond the scope of this video, but it's certainly something that I'm happy to answer questions on, inshallah. I just don't want to make this video too long because it's already kind of long. But yeah, so that's kind of, usually the cap, unless you're a competitive athlete. Like, and I have a friend named James who's like 6'6". He weighs 275 pounds, big guy from the UK. He needs a lot more protein than this. Typically, right now, I usually go for like 220 to 250 protein, but once I start cutting, I'm probably going to go above 300 grams of protein because I'm basically going to be on a bodybuilding contest prep diet. But yeah, typically, like for calories, we want to be between 12 to 15,000 body weight in calories per day. Again, this is something you kind of have to reverse diet up to if you're currently under eating and plateaued and have a slow metabolism. But again, all this stuff is subject to change, and there's so much nuance to where it's hard to give general recommendations without talking to you specifically, because it all depends on your weight, your current diet, your workout and dieting history, your age, your stress, your activity, etc. But if your metabolism, your body fat percentage are optimized, you're typically going to be between 12 to 15 times body weight in calories per day. If you want to cut, it's usually 10 to 11 times. And if you want to gain, it's usually 16 to 20 times your body weight in calories a day that you need to eat to get those results. And then you also need to sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. Now, I have some clients who have really good genetics and they only need 4 hours of sleep a night. I actually have 3 clients who fall in that category where they only need 4 hours of sleep a night. But these guys are like, genetic freaks. I also had a client who needed 8 to 12 hours of sleep a night, but most people need about 7 to 8. One of my mentors only needs 6 hours of sleep a night. So that's also very individual. All of our bodies, subhanAllah, are so different. But there's some universals, and for like 80, 90% of people, you need about 7 to 8 hours a night, including myself. Sometimes I need more. Sometimes I need like 8 plus. And sometimes if I get 8 plus too much, then I stop being able to sleep because I'm getting too much sleep. So again, there's a calibration process to figure that out as well, just like with digestion, just like with nutrition, just like with protein, just like with everything. It all requires individualization. So if you have questions right now, you're watching this on YouTube or in my Facebook group, comment down below if you have questions on anything covered, or like maybe I sent you this video if you're one of the brothers and sisters who reached out with these specific questions. You can text me back and ask those questions as well, or just comment on the thing. I mean, it helps engagement if you comment. So happy to get your comments. Or if there's a future topic you want me to address, comment and let me know. I always love content ideas, and the whole purpose of this channel is to serve you specifically. So if there's something you specifically need, it's probably hundreds of other Muslims, thousands of other Muslims who have the exact same question. So may Allah bless you for asking me that question and giving me the opportunity to deliver value to all of them too. And on that note too, if you got value from this and you had really good, actionable steps you could take after this, share this with a friend, Muslim or non-Muslim. Usually Muslim, because obviously I'm gearing this towards Muslims, but this stuff works for non-Muslims too. And then if you need help with your technique, drop a comment or shoot me a message. Happy to help you with your technique. We do these little 10 to 15 minute consultations, even for people who aren't, necessarily, maybe they can't afford the program, but they need some help. We do these, and obviously if you are interested in the program, we'll also do this for you. Just a little brief 10-15 minute call, because obviously we can't give too much time to everybody, because we got to prioritize our clients, but I still want to help everybody even if they can't afford to do the program. And then nutrition, if you need help with nutrition, shoot me a question as well. And again, like I said, feel free to book a consultation. Now, one little caveat on these consultations, super important, because I had a brother come in the other day and I felt really bad because he was disappointed that he couldn't ask me all the questions he wanted to ask me. But the thing is, I sent him a video beforehand that answered all of his questions, but I didn't even watch the whole video. And the thing is, in order to book the consultation, you have to watch the video, but then he told me I didn't send him a video, and I was kind of like a little confused. Or maybe I'm just not remembering our conversation properly, but I just want to put this here so that there's no confusion if you book a consultation from this. My calendar is super limited, okay? Like, I'm pretty much overwhelmed with how much stuff I need to do between most of my business, but also my personal life. But, alhamdulillah, we had a lot of new clients last month, so I'm prioritizing them. Still want to make sure we got this video out today because I know a lot of people need this video. But again, there's a couple like videos of homework. Essentially, you could call it homework videos I need you to watch before our consultation so that we don't waste my time or yours answering common general questions that I answered already within that video. And I want to be able to focus our time on customizing this information to you and answering more specific questions instead of answering general questions I answered in the videos before. So anyways, what I'll do is on YouTube and Facebook group, I'll drop the link to my calendar below. And then after you book, inshallah, myself or my team will reach out with the pre-call videos to make sure that you're fully prepped to make the most out of our consultation together, inshallah. So again, Jazakallah khair for watching this video. I hope you got value. If you learned something, drop a comment. Let me know what you learned. If you got value from this and this helped you, please share it with a friend who would help as well, inshallah. I want to get this message out to more people, and I'm obviously putting out a ton of free content, so the more people it reaches, the better. And obviously your friend will be grateful to you, inshallah, and may Allah reward you for sharing the ilm, the knowledge, with other people. And like I said, if you want to book a consultation, I'll drop the link below. And inshallah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video and possibly even talking to you one-to-one on a consultation. All right, assalamu alaikum.